This is Dare to Talk. I dare to talk to you, Jack.
Oh,
We all know you do.
here we go again.
Yabba, yabba, yabba.
So, who have we got coming on today, Sam?
Well, I don't know. You've actually got a guest for once.
Yes, so
31 episodes, is it? 32?
yeah, 30-something episodes.
And you've finally got a guest involved. About time you've done some work.
Finally, I got myself a guest sorted.
Does this mean I've got to edit this one?
Yeah, role reversal, mate. Pressure's on you, sir.
That's the end of Dare to Talk. Goodbye.
Yes, so yeah, this all sort of stemmed from when you thought you had long COVID or you were struggling with some health issues.
Yep.
And
You found someone that actually had it.
yeah, so many moons ago, I used to work at Suffolk One Sixth Form College in Ipswich, and why did I just see smoke coming out?
That's my coffee that you told me I wasn't allowed to have any more of.
You've made another cup.
I did.
And you didn't offer me one.
I did offer you one, you said no. You were laying on my acupuncture mat.
Yeah, I was.
Making weird noises.
Yes. So many moons ago, let's just avoid that one. Many moons ago, I worked for Suffolk One Sixth Form College. I was a media and performance technician, and worked very closely with the staff, the teachers, and the students that were there at Suffolk One, and helped them put on lots of shows and examinations and performances and all that.
Mm-hmm.
One lad in particular, a young gentleman called Reece Calver, who was he was a bit of a star pupil, very talented young man, really good dancer, actor, singer, just all round really good performer.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of kept in touch with him when he left, and followed his journey where he went off to uni and went off to dance school, and so I kind of picked up through social media that he caught COVID in February 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and that's completely impacted his whole life, really.
Yeah.
He's quite open about it, and he's looking to try and...
So he's had long COVID, hasn't he? But
Yes.
Extreme.
Yeah, I mean, he'll go into more detail. He said he's had changes in symptoms.
This is becoming more common.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people that are struggling with it. I saw Dan from Man Up's do an interview with a teacher, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And that's really... He becomes suicidal because of it. And,
Yeah. Completely impacted his whole life.
I don't know. The doctor told me I had long COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was explaining to you, I put a post up about it, and some people... I'm quite lucky that I've got people from different places of the country and abroad on my Instagram, and people from different places all come up with that acupuncture mat and breathing techniques. So I've been doing both of them, and whether it's coincidence or not, since I've been doing both of them,
It works.
I still feel a bit rough in some mornings, which is preventing me going in for a cold dip. I've been doing a cold shower later on in the morning, but I'd say 90% of my symptoms have gone now. The only thing I struggle with sometimes is a bit of shortness of breath, but that's it. Whereas before, I think what also helped is I went to the doctors after they told me I had long COVID, and I went back and got my heart monitored. I've still got to wear a 24-hour heart monitor thing in the next couple of weeks throughout the day, but they x-rayed my chest and everything come back normal. And I think a lot of that with peace of mind has made me feel better as well. But yeah, definitely don't feel as fluey and just as drained as normal. I can do a whole shift at work now without feeling absolutely dead when I finish. I've been able to go to my mum and dad's gym a few times and that since. So, whereas there's no way when they first said I had long COVID, there's no way I could go to the gym after work. Yeah. People have been saying I look better. Whereas before, when I said I had long COVID as well, people were going, "Cool, you look tired all the time." Whereas people are saying, "Oh, you look well."
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
that's good, mate. No, that's good to see you're getting back.
Be interesting to see if he's done any of these breathing
exercises.
Yeah.
Please enjoy the episode with Reece. Very interesting young man. Like and subscribe as always. YouTube, Spotify, Dare to Talk. Jackie Boy Shep on Instagram.
I think it says Sam _ dare_2_dip.
You always make a thing out of that, do you?
Just follow me, guys, please.
Share the dip on Facebook. Try to add to yourselves to the group. Very inspirational bunch of people. Amazing group. Come join in. 6:30 weekdays, 7:30 weekends down at Felixstowe Pier.
We'll be down there every single day in December.
Dare to Dip December is coming up. So please take part and feel the benefits of cold water therapy.
Peace out.
Enjoy the episode.
About 4 or 5 days, I noticed a massive. Even just little things like getting stressed at traffic lights and stuff like that, and it just took all that away.
I think it's also just like doing something for yourself right at the beginning of the day is such a good way to start the day.
Definitely.
So I followed him on Instagram just through. We had a few like mutual friends, and I picked up on what he was doing, and I put it off for ages. I was like, no, I don't fancy fucking doing that shit.
Yeah.
That's craziness. But then eventually I just thought, no, what the hell, I'll go down there. And then I remember that was February this year. Started going down, and then I just totally took to it, and I haven't looked back really. That's literally cold water.
Are you still doing it then?
Yeah, absolutely love it. Cold showers. If I'm not down there, then it's cold showers every day.
I'm that confident. I would say if you started doing cold showers and you'd complete 30 days in a row, you'd never not do them again.
Yeah,
because you'll notice the benefit. And you're right, what you said. If you start your day off right, then the rest of the day feels.
You do feel more relaxed, don't you, in the mind? Just knowing that you've kind of done, like, got your own back.
Having a good morning routine is crucial. You set the foundations of the day. Do you know what I mean?
If I get down there early in the morning, I'll get in there sort of 6:30 in the morning, and I'll go get changed, and then I head into work. I just feel like my day is so much easier.
That's wicked.
It's like all the build up of like workload and stresses and whatnot.
Yeah.
Just everything feels more manageable.
Gives you a massive boost in dopamine, and
Yeah.
it sends the same chemicals around the brain as what an antidepressant does.
Really?
Yeah, it's nature's own way of looking after your mind.
Seen that Wim Hof guy?
Yeah.
Wim Hof, he does it all, doesn't he?
Well, he's got some really good breathing.
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks crazy.
So we're basically like the Wim Hof of Suffolk, aren't we?
Yeah. Just call me Wim.
Wim.
Him Hof. I'll get talking about that Wim Hof breathing thing because you're going to talk a little bit. Are we recording?
So yeah, should we just start?
Yeah.
Do the intro.
Yeah. I'm Sam.
I'm Jack.
I'm Wim.
He's Hof.
This is Dare to Talk.
Yes.
You got a guest for once.
Yes. So my first guest. I remember you, Reece, from a long time ago. It's been a number of years. I think the last time I saw you, you were performing on stage at Suffolk One.
Yeah.
Very different circumstances. Long time ago.
Yeah, very different.
But I got really intrigued with a few of your recent posts, and I remember seeing that you were quite open about the fact that you'd contracted COVID back in 2020.
Yeah.
And it's completely...
Yeah. It's completely just kind of shifted my life around, like completely changed how I perceive life, especially as a dancer as well. Because I was dancing on tour with a freelance company, working professionally. Like I'd worked in Scotland as an apprentice and done a bit of work there. Got to travel around internationally a little bit with dance, and then kind of landed this job with this freelance company who I toured for a year and a half. And like February 2020, I came down with COVID. At that point, like COVID wasn't really taken seriously.
That's really early on, isn't it?
Yeah.
February 2020.
Well, we kind of like actually acknowledged COVID in March, so it was the month before. So I was kind of treated as if I had a chest infection, right? Because I had like a fever and I couldn't breathe. Yeah, but it just ended up like I was in a tech rehearsal for the show, and by the end of it, like I couldn't breathe. I already felt kind of sick beforehand. Ambulance had to come. Got sent home on the train back from there with COVID, because obviously at the time, so I was kind of, at the time I thought it was a chest infection. I just kind of had a fever, didn't feel very well, but usually I'd bounce back from that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And so I mean, probably like a week into having COVID, I'd kind of started to feel a little bit better. Like my fever had passed. Still felt a bit weak, like you do after you've been unwell. So I kind of tried to leave the house. Like I got on the train back to London and thought, oh, it would be good for me to walk around a little bit. And as soon as I like arrived in London and stepped off the train, like everything had changed. Like, you know, I was kind of disorientated, spinning out, like completely shut down. I thought it was like anxiety at the time. It was kind of like simulating same symptoms as like a panic attack, I guess, but it was different. Like I kind of felt, I couldn't really put a finger on it, but I kind of felt like hungry but also really sick. And then by the time I got to the place where I was going, like my whole body had like tensed up really tight. Like I woke up the next day and all my lymph nodes were swollen. And I mean, yeah, I could like bet that I could actually like barely see the next day, and I'd like done nothing. So I was like, what is going on? Maybe I just did a bit too much too quickly. And then yeah, just kind of every time I tried to do something after that, the same things would happen. My whole body would shut down about an hour after I'd tried anything. And then when I'd wake up the next day, for about 4 days after that, I'd be like having a relapse of all my symptoms. So yeah, so it was like that for about 4 or 5 months. And obviously over time, you kind of lose hope eventually that you're going to get better.
So what happened with the job?
So all the theatres got shut. So basically, at the time I got COVID, you know, I missed a show. The show didn't get performed that night, and then another one of the dancers had to learn my role, because I was in the lead role for that show. So it was like they couldn't do it unless somebody was in that position. So he kind of learnt it in a day, and then yeah, like they performed it. And then after that, literally every event, like I think they were actually like in Wales about to get on stage, and then that theatre shut, and then the theatre after that shut, and the theatre after that shut. So in a way, like I kind of felt not lucky because I wasn't well, but I was like, at least like I haven't got that pressure that I felt to get back anymore because the things are shutting. But so yeah, like I just went from being like, and the show I was doing was extremely physical, and I went from kind of being very physical to like not being able to like handle anything whatsoever. I couldn't leave the house.
Frustrating and scary, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just really depressing. It was just like, I didn't know how to be. I didn't know how to do it. Like I had no idea how to do life.
So were you on your own whilst all this is...
Well, I came back home to my family home, so that obviously was really stressful for my family as well, because they're obviously seeing me like not well. And I'm going to the doctors and, you know, having all these tests and everything's coming back fine. You know, with like long COVID, similar to like chronic fatigue, and a lot of invisible illnesses actually, is like, there's nothing really on your tests that necessarily say you have this. They kind of just rule everything out over a really long period of time and then diagnose you with something. So my mum has ME, which is like chronic fatigue. And yeah, it takes like, it took me like over a year for somebody to say, okay, this is long COVID. And it just took the right doctor to actually take it seriously.
Yeah. And I suppose after that time they had a bit more understanding of it as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You're probably one of the first people to get long COVID.
Yeah, like I was just like, obviously I couldn't see any doctors because nobody could get an appointment, so that didn't help. And then yeah, like every 3 months I was asked to call back to the doctors.
How are you now then? Are you...
So now like, so the kind of the brief journey of long COVID was really, really bad at the beginning. And this is like such a brief kind of history of it, but it was really, really bad at the beginning, relapses every day. And then about 6 months in, something just kind of shifted without really any explanation. I was kind of like, I was having relapses maybe like every 2 weeks, but they were different. They were more like migraines and like really overwhelming symptoms, like not filtered in little bit by little bit. And I used to come home and like, I'd be fine most of the day, then come home and just be like completely out of it. So I was able to like take a few shifts at a pub, right? And that kind of helped because I was exercising a little bit gradually. Kind of a really good thing for like long COVID is to find something that you can do and keep doing it and building on it and not doing too much. You want to kind of stay just below the part where you start to malaise or like relapse basically. So the pub, so at that point I think because I still had some leftover fitness from dance, I actually could do a bit more than maybe your average person who gets diagnosed with long COVID, just because I was really fit beforehand. But it was still a struggle. Like, I still woke up every day with like a stiff neck and all that stuff, and you know, after a shower I'd kind of like loosen up a bit. I could still feel like there wasn't something wrong.
Just not right.
Yeah, just not right. But I could do it. And then what happened was so I did some pub shifts for probably like a few months, and then we went into lockdown over a Christmas again, and I completely stopped everything. I just sat on my Xbox and played video games with my mates, because I was also still really mentally struggling with the fact that I can't dance or audition, and I'm having to like, you know, live this slightly different life. Yeah. And then it came back, but so much worse. Like, there was just one day where I was sitting there and like I just like lost the feeling of my legs. I remember I was actually talking to my friends at the time, and I was like, oh my god, I can't feel my legs. Woke up the next day, had a really bad relapse, and I'd just gone back to square one so quickly. Like, really scary how quickly things. It just feels like my health is very vulnerable in that sense. So, and since then, I mean, that was really bad. Like, that was like bed bound for a while, and I literally couldn't leave the house, and I just had to literally power through. Not power through. That's definitely not a good thing to say, because you don't want to power through. But I just had to like live it basically, and just try and get to a place where like I am now, and it's taken little bit by little bit. And I'd say even right now, I'm still not as good as I was in that weird period where I was a bit better for a while. Yeah. But like, you know, I just.
Like, do you reckon you might have caught it again, maybe, or is it?
I have caught COVID a couple of times, and I've been okay. Yeah. Like, I mean, like my whole house got COVID at one point, and I'd say I was the one that was absolutely fine, really, which is kind of strange.
It's such a bizarre thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. It affects everyone differently in that as well.
It does different things to everyone.
Do you reckon it's affected your mental health more than your physical, or both?
Definitely. I mean, it's definitely affected my physical health a lot, but like, I physically can stand up. Mentally, sometimes I don't want to. Do you know what I mean? Like so. I'd say the mental health side of it is obviously the hardest, because that is like literally the lens that I see everything through. Yeah. Because like I'm not okay, but I'm better now mentally, but maybe not that much better physically, if you know what I mean. But I feel
and with your dancing and stuff, that gets the old endorphins going. Probably something that helps with your mental health, and not being able to do that as much.
Yeah, well, exactly. And exercise is so good. You know, not being able to go for a run, not being able to go to the studio and dance flat out. Like, I mean, I answered life's questions with my physical body. You know, like I've always been very physical. Always been the person kind of jumping around. You know, like that's what made me feel intelligent, was my relationship to my physical self. Yeah. So when that was, at the time, I thought it was stripped away from me, from what I understood my physical person to be, was stripped away. It was so hard for me to function. Like, I didn't know, I had to kind of like sit there with all these thoughts that I'd usually be able to process in a way that I couldn't anymore. So I kind of, so many things in my character traits and were being revealed to me all at once, like realising that, you know, actually I rely on this stuff too much. I have quite a lot of ego attached to my physicality, like, so, you know, so having to kind of work through that and like face all my demons in a way, which my physical, but like without really knowing, I would, you know, go to a dance class and, like you say, like you go for a, you know, dip in the sea, make sure all these endorphins come out, and then you just feel better. Your mind feels, you feel like you fixate on less things, are able to come in and out when I'm dancing. But you know, it just felt toxic. It just felt like there was this whirlwind and I couldn't focus on anything.
So what support or help did you get for all this?
Well, the thing is,
I'm guessing early on they didn't. Well, even now they still don't know a whole lot. But like early on, there was nothing, I suppose.
I don't really think that at the beginning I got the help I really needed. But I think that there was assumed that because I was 23 and a male, because like it's usually more females get like chronic fatigue or long COVID. Like all the people I talk to now are all like female, so it's like they just assumed that I'm young, I'm fit, there's nothing wrong with my kind of like blood tests or scans. So they were just kind of like, you'll be all right. You just need to rest and make sure you're doing a little bit at a time. Usually, like first period's a bit bad, but you'll probably be okay. But I knew I wasn't going to be okay. Like I knew my body. I knew that there was something kind of, it's the same thing over and over again, really like present there. So at the beginning, I don't really feel like I necessarily got the help I needed. Didn't help that there wasn't long COVID clinics either. Yeah. I've never been to a long COVID clinic.
That's what I was going to say to you. Yeah.
No, I've never been. I don't know why. That's actually not like something I can't answer.
Have you tried any? Because Jack spoke to me about getting you on here because the doctors told me I had long COVID, but I'm also a hop contract, so I don't know. My mind plays tricks on me, so I never know what's real and what's not. But what I do know is I put a post up saying that the doctor told me about long COVID, and they told me not to get in the water, and they told me not to lift things heavy at the gym, and I thought there's two things that are really beneficial to my mental health, so it was a difficult pill to swallow that. But then when I put this post up, people said to me about an acupuncture mat. He was just on it before you come out.
Down here.
I've got one.
Yeah,
you have got one.
Said about that, and then the Wim Hof we were talking about before this, the Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah.
And I was doing about 7 days in a row of the acupuncture mat and the Wim Hof breathing, and I noticed a massive change in symptoms. Whereas I've had COVID 3 times, and when I had COVID, I felt really, like you said, lethargic and that. And then after the 3rd time of having it, I'd go in. I noticed in certain parts of the day, like when I woke up, I'd feel really drained and anxious and feeling rough. And then I'd be alright for a couple of hours, and then I'd get all sweaty and stuff at work. But it went like that every day at the same time of day.
Really?
Yeah. Did you just have it throughout the...
Well, I think so. It was always worse when I woke up.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't worse when I woke up. It was already there. It was always there when I woke up. Like even now, I wake up every day. I've got like a really stiff neck.
Yeah.
Sometimes like one side of my face was quite numb. Like just being static for that long when you've got long COVID. I think like it's just so hard to understand, really. But yeah, just. I think the main thing is that I feel unrefreshed after sleep.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel like I wake up and I'm like, I love the morning. I'm usually like, God, it's a struggle, and that affects my mental health so much. Like not being able to. I used to be quite a morning person, and now like I just don't. Like sometimes I'm just like, I can't be arsed. Like, it's just so much easier to lay here than like face that initial part of like, because also. There's this thing that I have where it's like I find it hard to swallow. I don't know what it is. I think it's because like my whole like lymphatic system is kind of like damaged and not working properly. So like you kind of need your ears, your ear pressure to allow you to like let it air in and out for you to swallow properly. So because my ears were blocked and they kind of got a bit damaged and don't work as well, like it's quite a muscular thing. So in the morning trying to eat breakfast is always like a bit like it's not something I want to do. So the morning is always like kind of tough, but not like really painful or uncomfortable. It's like if I do too much or go over a certain boundary, then that's like it's not like, and the line is such I don't know, like if I go a little bit over a line, then it's like really bad. And even if but if I stay just underneath, then it's fine. It's like this line that's really, it's like it's weird how it works. It's just like if I'm in that place I've done too much, doesn't matter how much I've done too much, I will still feel just as bad, even if I've done a little bit too much. So it's like really, it's really weird. I think my body just goes into like shock or like fight to flight.
Friends and family seen a difference in you for the last couple of years?
I think, for sure, like when I was like kind of really facing these demons, like it brought a lot of stress onto my family because I just was so angry, like
frustrated.
I was just like, why has this happened to me? Like, why am I having to watch all my friends like live a normal life and I'm here like not being able to get out of bed, and I felt very alone. So and I used to speak to my friends and like about how I was feeling, and sometimes it was really dark and they could really, I think they could definitely see for a while that I wasn't okay. And to be fair, like, I mean, my family, like, I think because I was around my family, like, they definitely pulled through for sure. Like my mum has chronic fatigue, so she was so good to have her around because, like, also because I kind of understand it a little bit before, like, in my opinion, long COVID is pretty much like chronic fatigue. Like, you become unwell with like a flu or something, and then your body doesn't really recover properly.
Yeah.
So I kind of understood it. So to have that perspective there was really good. And yeah, like they did, like, they were just trying to be so nice whilst I was being not very nice, pretty much.
Can I just say, it's so refreshing to hear a young man say that they spoke to their friends and family about how they're feeling as well. I think that might be a why you've got out the other end as well, so to speak. Not sounding dramatic, but
no,
a lot of people don't do that.
It's something I massively
in silence.
Yeah,
it's something I massively advocate for now. Like, I always say to my friends, like, we need to be talking to each other all the time. Like,
so important, isn't it? Because you notice when you do talk that you get that out of your head, and you do get a sense of relief even in that moment. Sometimes you might need to pick the phone up again and speak half an hour later. But I generally do believe that every time you speak about your problems, you deal with it.
Yeah, I always find myself answering my own questions when I speak.
Yeah,
like,
sometimes you don't even need your friend to say anything.
No, yeah, they just kind of listen. They're like, well, you just seem to answer a lot.
Yeah.
But just communicating and just having, like, you know, I think it always feels good when you connect to someone.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like, is a really good, like, place to start. You know, you feel a bit warm inside when you feel like you're like together in that thing with someone. It's just like, why not do that? Like, why cheat yourself of having that? Like, because you know, I think I'm lucky as well, because, like, being a dancer as well, like, we've all seen each other at our worst. You know, we've all seen each other sweating out. You know, like, had to break so many boundaries, especially as a contemporary dancer. Like, the things we're being asked to do is bring, like, our full selves into the studio. Kind of, sometimes what we're doing is quite abstracted, but and you know, you see a lot of people. So I think already for that to feel normal makes, you know, the connection I have with my friends is, like, really special like that. And my friends really pulled through. Like, there was times where they came and visited me and surprised me. There was times where they, like, dragged me out when they knew I could, but, like, I didn't, you know what I mean? And they, like, even now, like, if I'm on a night out, some friends will just drag up a chair at some point and tell me to sit down. Like, you know, it's just these things, and it's just like,
got a good support network.
Yeah. But for a long time, like, that took a long time for me to really actually, like, to feel like I was kind of being a hero for a bit. Yeah. But it didn't take me that long.
I want to set you a little challenge of doing these breathing techniques and see how you get on, because trying anything's got to be worth it.
So what's the breathing? So is that...
There's actually guided 10-minute ones on YouTube.
You can get apps on YouTube.
But I just listened to them on YouTube, and I've done 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes before I went to bed, and I noticed a massive difference, like almost instantly. Really, they're very powerful. They get the oxygen into your blood, apparently. But they do make you feel a little bit anxious, especially the first couple when you're doing it, and you just got to push through it and be laying down.
It can make you feel quite lightheaded and stuff.
It can, and there was one point where I was really, like, holding my arms tight, because it is very, very strange. It feels like but you'll be breathing in and out, and he'll tell you how to do it, and then he says, now breathe out on an out breath, and you hold your breath. I've held my breath. I've done it with my daughters. I held my breath for nearly 3 minutes on an out breath.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't feel the need to breathe.
But that's probably because you brought so much
oxygen into your blood.
That for healing as well.
Yeah, well, I was only doing 10-minute sessions, but I'm looking into it. We done one with the Iceman, didn't we?
But
they do it, and there is evidence that shows that if you practice this constantly, we hold trauma deep down. Apparently, so we've all got some form of trauma, whether it's big or little. That trauma's trauma. Do you know what I mean? We've all had that at some point of our lives, and we hold it deep down. But these breathing exercises, if you keep practicing, it's meant to get rid of all that trauma. So there is lots of benefits to it, and the same with the cold water. There have been when I got told I couldn't do the cold water, I ended up making my own mind up and doing it went on the day. Some days I felt really rough in the morning still, and thought there's no way I could get up and go into the cold because I felt really fluey.
Yeah.
But I thought, well, there's no stopping me doing this breathing exercise, and done it, and it did perk me up massively.
Exactly. You don't understand like the power of yourself until you go through these things, right?
There's
Like
always a solution out there. I think it's just you've got to sometimes search a bit harder for the answer. You know what I mean?
Where it suits you and making that right adjustment.
To because the last thing you want to do is put yourself back 10 steps.
Yeah.
When I got told I had long COVID, as a what's it called? Hypochondriac. That's the worst thing you can hear, because then you start making up symptoms in your head as well. So I didn't know what was real and what wasn't. But then I did do a dip, and it was probably the worst thing I could have ever done. I've done a year full of dips, and I come out of the water. Yeah, I come out and I felt really lightheaded. I was shivering, and that's not like me, because I've done so many cold
exactly,
dips. Yeah. There was newcomers there that day, and they were looking at me like, Jesus, isn't this the bloke that's been doing it? I didn't put them off.
Terrible.
Well, so that was actually because of the long COVID symptoms, or was that because you were overthinking?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I had long COVID. The doctor just said that to me, and I went with I just recently had COVID, but something weren't right. I knew something weren't right, and I was waking up every morning feeling really fluey. I'd get to work, I'm very out of breath walking and stuff. Well, I'd get to work and I was just sweating and just felt rough, but I always think there's something wrong with me anyway.
Yeah, well, maybe you just had some like post-viral fatigue.
Yeah.
Like, that's like before you have long COVID, you have post-viral fatigue. It's like you kind of, post-viral fatigue is kind of just like, your body is a bit all over the place, but usually it sorts itself out, and then it's like after like a few, probably like after like 6 months, 7 months, if you haven't, nothing's changed, or if it's still there, then it's like then they go, okay, you've got long COVID. Yeah, I mean that's how it was with me. So maybe you just had just like.
Well, that's what the doctor said. He said it sounds like you got long COVID, but we can't diagnose you with it for 3 or 4 months or something.
Yeah.
He said, and I had all these like my tongue gets swelling up, and I did that every time I had COVID as well. Did you ever get anything like that? Like down the side of my mouth, like ulcers and stuff, and kept dribbling and that. But I had that all 3 times I had COVID as well, something, and that kept doing that as well. So I thought it might be something to do with that. But like I say,
sounds like you were run down for a little while.
Yeah,
it was. You were out of action, weren't you?
Yeah.
We started to do the Zoom calls, so we kind of adapted the way we did the podcast, and I was working away as well at the same time. So I took my laptop, and then we were just doing like Zoom podcasts whilst I was away.
I just felt proper drained, and like something weren't right. But I feel a lot better now, so hopefully that's the end of it. But I like, which you probably can understand as well, when the doctor said long COVID and then spoke to other people and they said they have no idea how long it went on for. Luckily for me, that was a brief time.
Yeah.
It must be for you emotionally draining, because you don't know how long it's going to go on for.
Yeah, I mean, I think my mentality now is every day as it comes. Like, I have no end goal to get better. No. I can't live like that. Like, I can't actually move forwards like that, because I have to live today and identify as something. Like, I can't go through my life kind of being like, I have long COVID right now, but I might not, like, you know what I mean? It's part of my identity now, and it's what I'm living. I'm living day by day.
That day by day is a good way to live your life in any situation, I think. And 100%. What I found when I wasn't feeling rough, and that, is there'd be part of the days where I felt good, and I just appreciated them days, them hours, more than the times when I felt rough, and you sort of have to live it hour by hour. Really,
for sure. Yeah, exactly. And I think with long COVID as well, it's such like a physical reminder of that, because I'm constantly having to check in with myself and see how I'm feeling, making sure I'm not doing too much so I don't relapse. So it is kind of actually beautiful that this conversation has been opened up with myself. Maybe not in this circumstance, but in other areas of life, it has taught me to kind of be constant, be present. Like, I'm not thinking about I'm not like thinking about something that I have to do. Sometimes I do, but I remind myself, don't do that. But as this big thing that's really far away, before I've like tried to just take the first step. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not overwhelming myself with something because
You've got a good head on your shoulders. Very inspirational bloke.
oh, thanks, man. I say with you two, like, it's good. It's so nice around here as well because I don't really talk to anybody around like in Suffolk about this stuff because all my friends are like kind of. I'm living in London at the moment, and all my dance friends that I feel maybe comfortable talking to about this stuff who have gone through these things but are not around here.
Oh, well, me and Jack are always here for if you want to talk, mate. Definitely.
Yeah. So am I, for
Definitely,
sure.
mate, yeah.
And I'll be interested to see. Do you use your acupuncture mat?
I haven't used it in a while, but I did for a while, and I loved it.
Well, we're gonna. I'll set you up with a challenge, right?
I want some challenges.
30 days in the morning, 10 minutes on your acupuncture mat.
Mm-hmm.
Do that breathing. Well, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes breathing, and 10 minutes at night, both. And see how you get on. And after 30 days, we'll start introducing some other stuff if you're up for it. And see
but I do really want to try that cold one.
Yeah.
Especially now it's winter.
Yeah.
Because I feel like
we're going in the sea every
do you want to come down for a dip?
Yeah.
I think I do.
Yeah, we're doing it every day in December for 31 days.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the North Sea.
So what happened off the back of Sam doing his challenge? It essentially created a community, didn't it? Because now, so even though his challenge finished, the group continues. So Dare to Dip there's a Facebook group, and every morning, without fail, so during the weekdays it's 6:30, weekends is 7:30. There is always a group down at the pier who go in and do a dip.
Yeah.
Every day.
But I'm living in London.
But
I'd recommend
your family back here, so you're back here for periods.
I would recommend
come
before
with-
you got in the sea anyway, do a few cold showers at least first.
What I'll do is I'll
Especially
take
if
a
you're
photo
suffering
every day of me in a cold shower and
Yeah.
send it through to you.
There you go.
Day one, day two.
Join the Dare to Dip
Genuinely,
group on
right?
Facebook.
Honestly, they're an amazing bunch down there. And yeah, if you're going to come down and do a dip in the sea, I'd definitely do like a cold shower before because
a little bit.
that's a massive shock to the system.
Is it?
And
Especially if it's wavy, you get a wave over the end. It's
yeah.
Remember when you drunk a slush puppy too quick?
Yeah. But that's like
Brain freeze.
the size of a wave.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. There's lots of different things. That
Yeah,
people
I
can use in
definitely
this day and
recommend
age.
it. I did get told not to get in the cold water with long COVID, but you know your own body better than anyone as well. Do you know what
I
mean?
don't. I think I'll take that. To be honest, like there's a lot of things that I value from what I've heard from the doctors, and a lot of things that I think you know yourself, and you have to you have it's very general and a bit textbook sometimes what information you get from the doctors.
Yeah.
They're not looking at the body in like a holistic way where like, the mind and the body's connected and this is affecting this. They're looking at a textbook,
Data,
what they
isn't it?
see.
Data and stats or something.
I just don't understand that. It's just that it's such a good thing for your immune system and your nervous system, which is like one of the biggest problems with long COVID is your body sending pain signals all the time.
And I generally live my life now by everyone I meet. It all happens for a reason. So who knows? You might have been put in our path to help you with it by saying do these breathing, do the cold water and that. So you just got to go with your gut as well.
Exactly.
Like, doctors are there and they're good to help with certain things, but do they always get it right? No. Am I going to get Sam for saying that? Probably.
They don't.
Sam is not a doctor.
Well, Dr. Phillips has got a ring to it.
So when did you start getting back into the studio, start dancing, and how did that then lead to when? Yesterday.
Literally.
Really?
Yesterday.
Was that the first time you'd been?
I've been in the studio a couple of times, but I've not this is genuinely like a new chapter for me this week. Okay. I've been given this funding to
So how did this come about?
Well, basically, I mean, what it did was that I just realised through my own experience that dance for invisible illness there's a lack in it being accessible for people with invisible illness. Like for visible disabilities, some buildings have ramps for wheelchair users and things like this, like lifts and stuff like that. But for invisible illness, it's so hard to structure around it because it's constantly changing.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to go into a class when you feel like you might have to sit out after half of it, or you might not be okay afterwards. So I'm trying to build a practice which is accessible for people with invisible illness, visible illness, people who don't come with health conditions or stuff like that, something that includes everyone. And obviously a big part of that was also going to watch dance shows and not seeing a reflection of myself anymore within that, not connecting to it. And I feel like you need to involve people to speak to them equally. So I'm trying to I don't have the answers yet, but this is what this funding is for.
You can search for them, and I have no doubt you'll find them.
Yeah.
This is, and I've said it before on this channel, but this is the ideal guest because you have something bad that happens to you and turn it into a positive and then help someone else in the future with what you're going through. Speaks volumes as you as a person, and is what life's all about. I think if you can turn a negative into a positive, then you're winning, aren't you?
Yeah, it does feel like that. Like, it definitely does feel like, you know, that I've somehow found my way back into the dance world. It's still a long way to go though. Like, and I think it's just about trying to get us into a positive mindset to be excited about stuff again, and also, like, I want to feel excited about going to the studio in the same way as I did before, and I want people to feel not scared of coming to a class with me, but excited. Like, I moved to London a month and a half ago, moved there on a Sunday and started teaching for a week. On the Monday, I'd been asked to go in and teach at this at Siobhan Davies Studios in Elephant and Castle, and like, it's the first time I taught in like 3 years, really. So that is the first time I was in the studio, actually. But like, it was amazing because obviously it was promoted through my long-term creative page and my long COVID kind of perspective. Had all different kinds of people come, older people with long COVID, people with physical disabilities, just professional dancers, and everybody was doing it in their own way. And for me, it's just trying to build a conversational practice, one that kind of, you know, everybody is that I'm kind of suggesting tasks, but asking you to answer the tasks or complete the tasks in your own way. So everybody's actually dancing differently. Some people are laying down, some people are standing up, and my job basically is just to convince them that they are allowed to own it in their own right.
Love that.
Yeah, so actually it's just basically conversation, really, like always check in with people, like saying like, well, if you can't do this, how about this, or how about, you know what I mean, just trying to like get them to like really converse with themselves and ask, like, you know, are they being true to how they feel right now? And I always make them at the beginning of the class like write a little like statement about what makes them unique as a learner, what's unique to them, what, like, maybe that they're dyslexic, that's an access need, maybe they learn visually, maybe they need somebody to speak to them more, but like recognizing these like individual traits is then going to like make you understand why you can and can't do things. So it's just trying to like bring them in
positive.
Yeah,
definitely. I like that.
So where do you see it kind of, I mean, obviously you've only just started and your early stages, but have you got kind of a picture or an image where you'd like to see it go to?
I think at the moment, like over the next year, I'd like to just be teaching more, like kind of just building my practice, gaining some confidence in it, getting to understand how I manage my own health in a creative setting, so on that journey. And then I hope to get like a project funding in the future to maybe like make some work with a group of people or like community dancers, and trying to just build a practice that is accessible to as many people as possible. But so I mean, like, who knows really, but at the moment I'm just
One person.
yeah, exactly.
What sort of advice would you give to anyone who sort of suffered? Obviously you've spoken quite openly about your own symptoms, but I mean, long COVID, and COVID has affected millions all over the world, but I mean, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's maybe feeling the same as what you were and have been?
Physically, like, I recommend looking into like some somatic practices that are very like low energy, stuff like Feldenkrais, or even just like really light yoga. And also when you're doing those classes, to do them at your own pace and start to learn that you can do however much you like and you don't have to do anything. Get that, because I feel like some people find that really hard because you've been told how to do things all the time. So just literally like starting to like understand that like literally nothing's going to happen if you do a tiny amount. So just trying something, but stuff like Feldenkrais, which is a practice that literally looks at tiny movements and trying to like rewire your brain with the body in a certain way, is really good. So somatic practices, and mentally, like, definitely talk to people. I had counselling for quite a while, but yeah, talk to people, do little bits at a time. I mean, it's hard because like everybody's going to be going through different things, but I think just like, it is really hard. Like, I don't want anybody to think as well that I'm like okay with having COVID and that I'm all like happy and stuff. Like I'm not. I don't like having long COVID. It's not nice. I don't never want anybody to look at my page and think, look at this guy doing so well with long COVID. Like definitely not. I'm just talking.
Yeah.
You know, it is really difficult. So like you're not alone, and I think it's really good to like find a community of people like you near you.
Yeah, feel the same thing. I think that's brilliant, mate. I really enjoyed meeting you and chatting.
Oh, same. It's been lovely.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for inviting.
Reece. Really good.
Thank you for inviting me. Really appreciate it.
Cool.